What if a billionaire CEO walked into the wrong diner, and the waitress who brought his coffee ended up rewriting his company's future and her own? No degree, no connections, just a note on a receipt and a fire she refused to let die. The rain lashed Seattle streets, turning the city into a smudged painting of gray and neon. Inside Rusty's diner, the air was heavy with the scent of burnt coffee, greasy bacon, and desperation. Linda Park, 25, moved through her shift like a ghost, wiping counters, refilling mugs, and flashing a practiced smile for tips that barely covered her bus fare. Her life was a relentless cycle of survival. A stack of overdue bills hidden in a kitchen drawer, a sink that dripped like a mocking heartbeat, and a porcelain jar on her nightstand labeled Escape Fund, holding $47.32, mostly in coins. Her dream of working in marketing, scribbled in a dog-eared notebook from high school, felt like a cruel echo from a girl who hadn't yet been worn down by the world. This Tuesday morning, though, the routine cracked. The bell above the door jangled, and a man stepped in, shaking rain from a tailored coat that screamed money. He was tall, with sharp cheekbones, dark hair that fell with careless precision, and eyes green, piercing, that seemed to cut to the diner's grime. He didn't belong in Rusty's, a dive where the jukebox had been broken since Obama's first term. He slid into booth 5, the one with cracked vinyl and a wobbly table, and Linda grabbed a coffee pot, her heart racing for no reason she could name. "Coffee, Black," he said, his voice low but commanding, like he was used to the world bending to his will. She didn't know his name yet. She didn't know he was Daniel Reed, CEO of Optimus, a Seattle tech juggernaut on the brink of $1 billion acquisition. To her, he was just a stranger who made the diner feel smaller, brighter, sharper. "Coming right up," she said, pouring with hands that trembled slightly. Their eyes met for a split second, and something electric passed through her, a feeling she couldn't name but couldn't shake. When she slid his receipt across the table, a reckless impulse took over. She scribbled in blue ink, "Thank you for brightening my day." Her cheeks burned as she turned away, cursing herself. What was she thinking? He'd probably laugh, toss in the trash with his coffee cup. But when she cleared his table, there was a napkin folded neatly beside a $20 tip. Absurd for a $2 coffee. In precise, elegant handwriting, it read, "You probably brighten many." Linda's breath caught. She slipped the napkin into her apron, her fingers lingering on the words like they were a lifeline. It was nothing, she told herself, just a kind gesture. But as she scrubbed tables that day, the napkin in her pocket felt like a secret, a spark in her gray world. Daniel came back the next day, and the next. Always booth 5, always coffee, Black, always a napkin with a note. At first they were polite, "Great service, keep smiling." Then they turned playful. "Is the coffee this good, or is it you?" Linda's responses, scrawled on receipts, grew bolder as her fear gave way to curiosity. "Maybe it's both," she wrote one day, her pulse hammering as she handed it over. Each exchange was a flicker of warmth, a reason to drag herself to Rusty's through the rain. She didn't know who he was. She didn't know his suits were custom-made in London, or that he was in Seattle to negotiate the Redwood acquisition, a deal that could redefine the tech industry. To Linda, he was Daniel, the man who asked about her day with genuine interest, who laughed at her dry jokes, who made her feel seen in a way no one had since her mom died 5 years ago. He was a mystery, and she was content to let him stay that way, until she couldn't. One rainy afternoon, with the diner nearly empty, she took a leap. Her pen hovered over his receipt, her stomach twisting into knots. She wrote, "I guess I have a bit of crush on you." The words looked childish, desperate, but she slid the receipt across the table before she could second-guess herself. She fled to the counter, pretending to polish an already clean coffee pot, her face hot with regret. When she returned, his napkin was waiting. "I'm not who you think I am. Timing is tricky." Her heart sank. It wasn't rejection, but it wasn't an invitation either. What did he mean? Who did she think he was? Just a guy who liked diner coffee. She stared at the words, tried to unravel them, but they only deepened the enigma. Daniel didn't stop coming. If anything, he lingered longer, staying past the lunch rush to talk. He asked about her life, her dreams. She told him about the marketing campaign she sketched in her notebook. Ideas for brands she'd never worked for, like a viral campaign for a local bookstore or a rebrand for a failing coffee chain. He listened with an intensity that unnerved her, his eyes bright with something she couldn't place. Admiration? Intrigue? It made her feel alive, like she was more than a waitress in a faded apron. One evening, as the neon open sign flickered off, he leaned across the table. "Linda, you're wasting your talent here." She laughed, scrubbing a stubborn ketchup stain. "Talent? I pour coffee and dodge creepy truckers. That's my resume." "You're wrong," he said, his voice firm. "Your ideas, they're sharp. I've seen it. You've got a gift." Her cheeks warmed, but doubt crept in. "You don't know me." "I know enough," he said. "Let me show you something." He invited her to a coffee shop downtown the next day, not Rusty's, but a sleek place with exposed brick and baristas who looked like they modeled on the side. Linda fell out of place in her thrift store sweater, but Daniel made it easy, handing her a latte and a blank notebook. "Write down one of your campaign ideas," he said. "Any one." She hesitated, then sketched a concept for a local bookstore. A social media campaign with hashtags like #ReadTogether, pop-up reading nooks in Seattle's parks, and a loyalty program tied to community events. When she slid the notebook back, he read it in silence, his face unreadable. Then he smiled. "This is brilliant. You're brilliant." She laughed, nervous. "It's just a doodle." "It's more than that," he said. "Linda, I need to tell you something. Don't hate me." Her stomach twisted. "What?" He exhaled. "I'm Daniel Reed, CEO of Optimus. We're a tech company, and I'm in Seattle for a major acquisition. I didn't tell you because I like that you didn't know. You saw me, not my title." Linda stared, her latte forgotten. "CEO? Optimus?" She'd seen the name on news tickers. Something about a tech giant buying out a rival. Her mind reeled. "You're rich?" He winced. "That's not the point. The point is, I see you, Linda, and I think you could do more than pour coffee." The revelation was an earthquake. Daniel kept coming to Rusty's, but now he brought marketing journals, books on branding. He asked her to brainstorm ideas for Optimus. Small at first, a tagline, a tweet. She was hesitant, her lack of degree a constant weight, but his belief in her was infectious. She started to believe, too. Then Rusty's closed. Gus, the owner, couldn't keep up with the bills, and the diner shuttered overnight. Linda was jobless. Her escape fund nowhere near enough for rent. Panic clawed at her. She couldn't afford her apartment, let alone her dreams. When she told Daniel, his jaw tightened. "Come work for me," he said. "Optimus needs fresh ideas. You've got them." "I'm not qualified," she said, her voice small. "I don't have a degree, Daniel. Your team will eat me alive." "They won't," he said. "I'll make sure of it." She said yes, not because she believed in herself, but because she trusted him. Her first day at Optimus was a culture shock. Glass walls, polished people, and a buzz of ambition that made her feel like an imposter. Nicole, the CFO, was a glacier in human form, her smile sharp enough to cut. Daniel's charity case. Linda overheard her say to a colleague. The words burned, but Linda swallowed them. She had to prove herself. The Redwood acquisition was a pressure cooker. Daniel was stretched thin, pulled into meetings with Russell Friedman, a venture capitalist with shark's grin and a knack for exploiting doubt. Nicole pushed for aggressive terms, while Russell demanded concessions that threatened to derail the deal. Linda, meanwhile, worked late, crafting rich marketing proposals that no one but Daniel seemed to notice. She poured her heart into them, sketching campaigns that blended Optimus's cutting-edge tech with Redwood's legacy appeal. But the whispers followed her. She's just the CEO's girlfriend. One night, in a conference room littered with takeout containers and Red Bull cans, she pitched a dual marketing strategy. One campaign for Optimus's tech-savvy base, emphasizing innovation and speed. Another for Redwood traditionalists, focusing on trust and reliability. Together, they'd unite under a shared message. Progress with purpose. It was bold, maybe reckless, but Daniel's eyes lit up. "This could work," he said. "This could save the deal." The board meeting was a battlefield. Nicole attacked Linda's credentials, her voice dripping venom. She's a waitress, Daniel. Why are we humoring her? Russell was skeptical, his questions laced with condescension. Interesting ideas, but can she execute? She's untested. Linda's hands shook under the table, but she held her ground, presenting data she'd pulled from market research. Hours of work she'd done in her tiny apartment, fueled by instant noodles and determination. Daniel fought for her. Her ideas are better than anything we've heard in months, he said. Give her a shot. To Linda's shock, the board agreed. Her strategy became the deal's cornerstone, and when the acquisition closed, Optimus's stock soared. At the rooftop celebration, Daniel pulled her aside, his face soft in the city lights. You did this, he said. Not me, you. But the whispers didn't stop. She's just the CEO's girlfriend, they said. Linda overheard them, each word a splinter. Was she here because of Daniel's feelings, or her own merit? The question haunted her, a shadow over her triumph. What would you do if the world saw your success as someone else's favor? If you're loving this story, hit that like button and subscribe for more heart-pounding tales that keep you hooked till the end. Linda threw herself into her work, enrolling in online MIT marketing courses to silence the doubters. She refused to be Daniel's girlfriend. She wanted to be Linda Park, strategist, but the pressure was relentless. Nicole's hostility sharpened, her icy stares a daily reminder of Linda's outsider status. Russell, meanwhile, hinted that Daniel's personal involvement with Linda could scare off investors. Perception is everything, he told Daniel in a meeting Linda wasn't supposed to overhear. Distance yourself until the deal's dust settles. Daniel told her the truth that night, his voice heavy. They want me to step back from you. Publicly. Just for a while. Linda's heart cracked, but she nodded. I get it. This is bigger than us. No, he said fiercely. Nothing is bigger than us. But I need you to trust me. She did, but it hurt. She stepped into the shadows, focusing on her work, her courses, her dignity. She refused to break, even when Nicole's barbs grew crueler, even when the boardroom felt like a lion's den. She stayed late, refining campaigns, analyzing data, proving her worth with every email and presentation. Then came the first twist. Late one night, Linda's phone pinged with an anonymous email. The subject line was blank, but the body contained leaked documents, internal memos from Nicole to Russell, outlining a plan to sabotage the Redwood deal unless Daniel agreed to oust Linda from Optimus. Nicole saw her as a liability, a distraction that weakened Daniel's credibility. The memos were ruthless, calling Linda a nobody with delusions of grandeur. Worse, they hinted at a side deal. If Nicole tanked the acquisition, Russell would fund her own startup, cutting Optimus out entirely. Linda's hands shook as she read. This wasn't just about her. It was about Daniel, Optimus, and the thousands of employees whose jobs hung in the balance. She could expose Nicole, but it was a gamble. If the board didn't believe her, she'd be painted as a paranoid opportunist. If Daniel defended her, it could cost him the company. And who had sent the email? An ally? A trap? What would you risk to protect someone you love? She didn't tell Daniel. Instead, she worked in secret, cross-referencing the memos with financial records she'd accessed through her limited employee privileges. She found proof, a hidden account where Nicole had funneled company funds to one of Russell's shell companies. It was a betrayal so brazen it made Linda's blood boil. She took her findings to Sarah, Optimus's head of legal, a no-nonsense woman who'd always been fair but skeptical. If you're wrong, Sarah warned, this will destroy you. I'm not wrong, Linda said, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her chest. Sarah investigated, and the truth unraveled like a house of cards. Nicole was fired, her reputation shredded. Russell withdrew his support, but the Redwood deal held, thanks to Linda's strategy. The board, stunned by her tenacity, offered her a permanent role as head of marketing strategy. She'd earned it, not through Daniel, but through her own grit. But the story didn't end there. A second twist came weeks later, as Linda settled into her new role. Another anonymous email arrived, this time with a single line. Check the Redwood contract, page 47. Her stomach dropped. She pulled a contract from the company's secure server, flipping to page 47. Buried in fine print was a clause that gave Redwood's former CEO a shadowy figure named Victor Klein veto power over Optimus's marketing campaigns for 2 years post-acquisition. It was a landmine, one Nicole had known about and hidden, hoping to sabotage Linda's work even after her exit. Victor Klein was no ordinary executive. A quick web search revealed he'd been ousted from Redwood for unethical practices, and he held a grudge against Optimus. If he exercised his veto, Linda's campaigns, her legacy at Optimus, would be gutted. Worse, Klein had a reputation for playing dirty, and rumors swirled that he'd hired private investigators to dig into Optimus's leadership, including Daniel. Linda's name, tied to Daniel, would be a prime target. She faced a choice: stay silent and hope Klein ignored the clause, or confront him, risking her career and Daniel's reputation. She chose to fight. She tracked Klein to a tech conference in San Francisco, using her new Optimus credentials to get a seat at his panel. In a room full of industry giants, she stood up during Q&A and called him out, her voice clear and unwavering. "Mr. Klein, why is Optimus's marketing team bound by a clause you buried in the Redwood contract? Are you trying to control a company you no longer lead?" The room went silent. Klein's face reddened, but he deflected, claiming the clause was standard procedure. Linda didn't back down. She brought receipts, emails from Nicole to Klein, uncovered by Sarah's investigation, proving he colluded to undermine Optimus. The audience murmured, and Klein's composure cracked. By the next day, he'd withdrawn the clause under pressure from Redwood's board, who didn't want a PR disaster. Linda's bold move made headlines in tech blogs. Waitress turned strategist takes down Redwood's ex-CEO. The whispers about her being Daniel's girlfriend faded, replaced by respect. She'd fought for her place, and she'd won. The Redwood deal closed on a crisp October evening. The rooftop celebration was electric, with champagne flowing and Seattle's skyline glittering below. Linda stood at the edge, watching the city pulse. She'd saved the deal, exposed a traitor, and faced down a titan. But the old doubts lingered. Would she ever fully escape the shadow of her past? Daniel found her, 2 flutes of champagne in hand. "No more hiding," he said. "You're not just my consultant. You're the woman I love." He dropped to one knee, a diamond ring catching the light. "Linda Park, you started this with a note on a receipt. You changed my life. You fought for us, for Optimus, for yourself. Marry me." Tears blurred her vision. She thought of Rusty's, the escape fund, the years of feeling invisible. She thought of the boardroom, the memos, the conference where she'd stared down Klein. And she thought of Daniel, who saw her when no one else did, who loved her not for what she could be, but for who she was. "Yes," she said, her voice clear and strong. The crowd erupted, but for Linda, it was just them, a waitress and CEO, bound by napkins and receipts, by courage and love. The road ahead wasn't perfect. There'd be more battles, more doubters. But Linda was ready. She wasn't just surviving. She was thriving. 18 months later, Linda was Optimus's head of marketing, her campaigns winning industry awards and reshaping the company's brand. Her escape fund jar sat empty on a shelf, not because she'd spent it, but because she'd built her own way out. She and Daniel married in a quiet ceremony in Seattle Park, under a rare sunny sky. The napkin from that first day at Rusty's sat framed on their mantel, a reminder that small moments, scribbled notes, fleeting glances, could spark something extraordinary. Nicole's name vanished from the tech world, a cautionary tale of ambition gone wrong. Russell pivoted to other ventures. His influence diminished. Victor Klein retired quietly, his reputation tarnished. And Linda? She became a mentor, hiring young women like her. Scrappy, overlooked, bursting with potential. She told them what Daniel had told her. "You're enough." She also started a scholarship fund for women without degrees, calling it the Escape Fund. It was her way of paying forward a chance she'd been given, proof that dreams didn't need a diploma, just grit, heart, and a spark. If this story gripped you, smash that like button and subscribe for more tales of heart, hustle, and jaw-dropping twists that keep you glued till the last word.